Okay, so today we're going to create a flashcard app using AppLab. I'm going to do this, using I think 2 flashcards today, and I've sort of simplified it a little bit. You can, with this video, you can go back, you can pause it, so if you want to follow along, you can use whatever images and questions you want, so just change what I'm doing. So what I've done, I've gone into AppLab. First thing you want to do is click Create New, okay, and then give it a name. So I'm going to click Rename. I'm going to call this flashcards, like that, whatever you want to call it. Now, flashcards are really useful. You use them if you're studying for, a test. So if you have like a science test coming up, you might have like a question on one side of a card and the answer on the other. So this is really cool because you can create this and then have it on your phone, and you can actually use it to study. But then you can change it if you have different tests coming up or things like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the design mode first in AppLab. Now it has three modes: code mode, design mode, and data mode. We're not going to use data today, just design and code. So I'm going to click on design. Now I'm going to have different screens for my app, okay? And screens are like pages for the app. So the way we add new screens is we click on this little drop down and we add a new screen. Now you can see as you add new screens, they're just called, screen 1, screen 2. They're not very sort of informative. So what I'm going to do is label them so they mean something. Okay, so I'm going to click on screen 1. Over here you can't do anything with the labeling, you do it over here. And it's in the ID, okay? ID, the identification for the screen. I'm going to call this screen the front page, okay? So in all my code, I'm going to refer to the front page as this screen here. Now with the design mode, you can change background colors. So I'm going to make this like blue, pretty blue color. And you can add images, so you could put a picture of anything you want there. You can add text. Now the best way to add text is either in a text area or as a label. I'm just going to add a label because it's going to be a title. Now when you do that, see, you can't click on the text over here. You have to click on it over here. And there's 2 things you'll change. One is the label or the ID. So this is like, I'm just going to call it the title. See, that didn't change it because that's just what this is going to be referred to in the code if I wanted to do something with it. The text here, the word text, this is where I would put my actual text. So I'm going to call it flashcards. Now you can change a lot of things about the text, including the color of the text. So I'm going to make it white by dragging up into the corner. You can give it a background as well if you want. And sometimes it turns up with a background. If you don't want it, you just delete that so there's nothing there. And you can change the size of the text. So you can resize it. Sometimes it doesn't fit in the window, so you just grab the corner there and just drag it. And you can drag this any way you want. If you accidentally drag text and you're like, oh, I don't want that, then to delete it, you just pick it up and drag it back over here and let go, and it'll disappear. So I've got my title. That's pretty much all I want. Oh, I want a button on the front too to actually start the app. So I'm going to click on button. Pop the button there. I'm going to call this the start button. Okay, and the actual text on the button is going to be the word start. And that's very small, so I'm just going to make it nice and big. Again, that doesn't fit in the button, so I'm just going to drag it out so it fits and put that in the middle. And that's it. That's my front page. That's done. It's easy. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to call screen 1. I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call this question 1 front. Now you can't use space in identification or ID, so I use the underscore, or you can just not have any spaces. So if you imagine you've got flashcards, right, you always have a front and a back to each flashcard. So this is the back to question 1. So that's where the answer would be. You could call it question and answer if you want. I'm just going to call it question 1 front and back, and question 2 front and back. So you can see all I'm doing is I'm just labeling these so I know what they are. Now if you added another screen and you're like, oh, I don't want that, that's too many, just go over to delete over here on the screen and press yes, and you can delete it. So now I've got a front page, a question 1 card with a front and a back, and a question 2 card with a front and a back. So I'm going to start with question 1 front. Again, you can change the background color for this. You can add images, whatever. I'm just going to make it really simple. So I'm going to add a question here. And to do like a lot of text, add a text area because you can put more in that. So in the text area, remember you can't click over here. You have to click in the box over here. So So I'm just going to type my text. Question 1, what is the capital of Italy? Okay, and I'm going to make that pretty color. So you can change the text color. You can make it bigger, smaller. Oops, I don't want it smaller, I want it bigger. And if it doesn't fit, you just drag it out. And you could put a picture in here too if you wanted. Okay, cool. And I am going to put a button down here, and this is going to be my answer button. Now I'm going to name these things. I'm not going to bother naming the text because I'm not going to be clicking on it, but you could name it, something informative. I am going to name this button though. Okay, so this is going to be my question 1 answer button. Now you could write question 1 answer button like that. So then you really know what it is. Okay, so that's your answer button. I'm going to go to the back of that page now. I have to put the answer. So we know I'm going to just use a label. Label is just if you want a little bit of text, so I only want a word, which is Rome. I'll make this red, and I'm going to make that big. Oops. And you can just actually type the number in, but just do that. And so that's our answer. So that's cool. The other thing that I'm going to want on this page, I'm not going to bother labeling that. I'm not going to use it, but I'm going to use a button again. And this button is going to say next. Okay, so this is going to be question 1 next. So I've called it question 1 next. So on the front, I've got text, and I click on the button, you can see I called it question 1 answer button. And then on the back of that page, I've got text. I didn't call it anything exciting. And then if I click on the button, I can see what I called the button, question 1 next. I'm going to do the same thing with question 2. Yes, I'm going to drag the text area in. I'm going to say question 2, who is this? And make that big. Oops. And this time I'm going to put an image in. So I'm going to drag image over here, and it's going to be empty. To get an image, you have to go over here and select choose, and then you have to upload assets. Okay, so just upload them from your computer. I've got a picture here on my desktop, so I just upload that, choose it, and you can resize it. You just drag the corner out. Oops. And if it's a bit awkward to grab, you can actually resize it in here as well. But I like it to be the size it is, so I'm just going to leave it like that. Okay, so that's my image, cool. Again, if you want to change the background here, click on the screen anywhere. So see if I'm clicked on the text, all of this is to do with the text. If I'm clicked on the image, this is all the image. I'm actually going to call this question 2. Actually, I don't need to call that anything, but just call it Ed. And the other thing that I need here is a button. I'm going to call this question 2 answer button, and I'm going to have this say answer. And again, you can change, stuff about this button. You could change the color of it. You could make it orange. Oh, it's ginger, like Ed. And you could change the font size and the text color and things like that. So we've got that happening. Again, if you want to change the background, click on the background, and that'll change the properties. So here, I might do a bit of, sort of divide background, bit of blue. So you can change it. So it's really up to you if you want to be doing that for each one. And question 2, the back, we just need the answer. So I'm just going to drag. Remember, I'm dragging these over. I'm going to put the answer. It's Ed Sheeran. I'm going to make it bigger. Okay. And then I'm going to put a button, and you probably guessed this button is going to be the next button for the next question. So this is question 2, next button. So I label them by like what question, screen I'm on. Question 1 on the back, you can see if I click on the button, it's called question 1 next. If I'm on question 2, I click on the button, it's called question 2 next. Because in the code, that's what you're going to be using, what it's actually called. If I click on that, it's called question 2 answer. If I click on question 1's front, I click on there, it's going to be question 1 answer. Okay, Now our app is actually pretty much set up. You can set as many flashcards as you want. I've just done 2, just so it's a bit simpler. So now we've set everything up, we're going to do the code. Okay, so we were in design mode here. This is where we're dragging stuff. Remember, if you drag stuff over and you don't want it, just drag it back over here. Okay, and get rid of it. So we're going to go now to code mode. Okay, now if you imagine with this app, what do you want it to do? Okay, you want to start the app, press start, and you want to go to the first page, which would be question 1, the front of question 1's card, question 1 front screen. So for that, what we're going to do is we're going to use UI controls. UI is user interface. So this is where the user does something and the app does something. So we're going to click on event. So we want to click on the start button and then go to the next screen. So here it says on the event, drop down here is going to be clicking on the start button. So we can actually find start button because I called it start button. So remember, if I go back to design, if you've forgotten what you called something, go to design, click on it, and there it's called, oh, I called it start button. Cool. So then I can go to the code. I'm like, yep, that's the start button. If I click on it, I want to do something. And it's like, well, what are you going to do? Okay, I want to go to the next screen. So to do that, there's actually, if you scroll down in this, through these blocks, there's a set screen. That's going to change to the screen that you want. So I'm going to put that in there, and I want to go to question 1 front. Okay, so what's going to happen, I'm going to press run on my app. If I click on this button, it goes to question 1. But now if I click on this, nothing happens because there's no code for that. So I'm going to click restart so it's not running. So now what I want to do is when I'm on that next page and I click answer, I want to get the answer. Okay, so we actually do the same thing. We go on event, drag it over. This time if I click on question 1 answer, I want to get the answer. Now where is the answer? Well, the answer is on the back, question 1 back. That's the answer screen. So I want to go to question 1 back. So now it's like saying, okay, I click on the answer, I go to the back, and I can see the answer. So let's press run, press start. What's the capital of Italy? Oh, I don't know. I'm going to press answer. Oh, it's Rome. Okay, so now you've got Rome. Now I want to go to the next question because I've done that one, so that's cool. So again, I've got to tell it what to do when I click on this next button. So it's exactly the same process. On event, clicking next. How do I know what that button is called? Oh, I've forgotten. Okay, so go into question 1 back. What is this called? I click on it. Oh, question 1 next. It's called that. Okay, so now I'm going to find question 1 next. When I click on question 1 next, I'm going to go to, where do I want to go? Oh, I want to go to question 2. So set screen, remember this is the page you're going to go to, and I want to go to question 2, but I want to go to the question part, question 2 front. Okay, and then we're going to copy, it's pretty much the same thing that's going to happen here. Okay, I'm now on question 2. So now I'm thinking, okay, when I'm on the question 2 page, which looks like this, I want to click on the answer and get the answer. So when I click on question 2 answer button, where do I want to go? I want to go to the back of that card, question 2 back. I want to go to here. So I tell it, I'm going to go to the screen that's called question 2 back. Now, this is the last card I had, so if I push next, I don't have any more questions. So just because I've actually run out of things to go to, I'm going to make it, when I click next, that I go back to the start, which remember is just called the front page. So I'm going to make it so when I'm on the back of question 2, so I'm going to do one more event. So when I am on the back of question 2 and I click the next button, and see the way I've labeled it, I know which one it is because it's question 2 next. So it's easy for me to know what it is. I then want to go back to the front page. So let's look at this code. We start, we go to the first question 1, the front of that card. If we click question 1's answer button, we go to the back of the card. Then when we click the next button for question 1, we go to the front of question 2. When we click question 2's answer button, we go to the back, so we turn it over. And then when I push question 2's next button, I go back to the start. Now you can see this actually with blocks like it is at the moment, or if you go up to the right corner here and click show text, you can see it as code, what it would look like as text. And if you want to be fancy with it, I'm going to push enter. and push 2 slashes, you can put a comment. So this is to start my app, and then maybe this is all, you don't have to do this, this is just optional. So this would be question 1, and then this part here I'm just going to put a comment. So a comment is where you're just putting information for yourself so you know what's going on. It just makes it easier to read the code rather than just having a block of code and it's like I don't know what's happening. And the other cool thing is with this, if you had more pages, instead of having to drag everything, you can actually select and copy this. So if you used the same method of naming stuff, if you named it like with question 3, you could change everything here with question 3s and not have to drag blocks. You can sort of copy it that way. So this just makes it a little bit easier to read. And then if you go back to show blocks, those comments are now in white. So you can see this is the starting the app part. This is where I did question 1, where it's like I click answer, and then I go the next page, the next question, and there's question 2. So you can see it's a little bit easier to read. Okay. Now, when you run code in AppLab, it also has a debugger down here. Oops, let's go the other way. So you can see if there's anything wrong. It'll tell you where it's wrong. But we're going to run this code now. So I'm going to press run, and we're going to test it out. So I'm going to press start. Question 1, what's the capital of Italy? I think it's Rome. I'm going to click answer. Hey, it's Rome. So now I'm going to click next. It should go to the next question. Question 2, who is this? It's Ed Sheeran. Press answer. It's Ed Sheeran. And now if I press next, it should go back to the front page, which it does. So that means that my app is working. So again, once you've done that code, you can add as many front pages as you want. So remember, you just go into there. You'll notice here you can't because this is code. So you have to go into design, and then you can add as many pages as you want. You can change things, like I noticed in that Ed Sheeran one, I don't like that it has a background on that. So I'm going to get rid of the background color. Doesn't look as ugly. You move things around, change things. So you can really play with it. Put as many pages in as you want. And then you pretty much just use the same idea for the code for as many flashcards as you have. So that's how you create a simple flashcard app using AppLab. And make sure you press save too, so that you can use that again. And also, if you want to share, you can press share up the top. This really only works if you have an American phone number. But the way that I would do it is you can copy the link, or you can send it by Facebook or Twitter, and then you can access that app on your phone really easily. If you have Facebook, you can access it really easily, or on an iPad, anything like that. So it's a really, really easy way to create flashcards for yourself.